Hello, Paddy Barnes here. This is my first podcast. I've been thinking about doing it for a while. It's called PaddyCast. So welcome to it. My very first guest ever on the show is none other than the three-time two-weight unified world champion, Carl Frampton. Welcome to the PaddyCast, Carl.
How you doing, Paddy? Delighted to be the first guest. Let me just change where I'm sitting here a wee bit, just so I get a bit more comfortable.
That's well out of date, 2015.
Well, but I was the last ever to win it before Zoo magazine went bust. So
I would say you were the first ever as well.
The coolest man for it. No, I wasn't the first ever. The route been for about 10 years.
Serious?
Do you know who came second this year? The year I won it?
Who?
Tom Hardy.
Well, you must be right.
Number 2 I call.
Someone must be paying for that then. No, so we're getting it right now, right? So I'd like to discuss a few things with you. Firstly, your sporting journey from many people know you. You have a massive following, but for those who don't know you, how did you start off your journey from amateur until right through to professional? How did you get to where you are now?
Well, I was very young when I started. I was 7 years old, and I started in Midland ABC. There was a couple of coaches down there at the time. Billy McKee, who's just recently retired. Another guy called Josie Farrell, who died a few years now. And that was kind of it in terms of the coaching. Cooper McClure, who was a boxer at the time, is now coaching Midland ABC. He's like the head coach. So I started out there, and my club had a great relationship with Holy Family and Jerry Story, and we were training in the Holy Family a lot, and that's probably where I first. No, it wasn't. I first came across you when we boxed each other. You were with East Coast, but then we used to do a lot of training together in Holy Family. So that was really the start for me.
So you were a top amateur as well, not just professionally, but what would you say was your biggest achievement as an amateur?
I don't know. I was an okay amateur. Like I could have been a better amateur, I think. But I was happy enough with what I'd done as an amateur. Saying that, I'm a wee bit disappointed that I never, and a bit of a regret of mine, I never went to a major tournament for Ireland, and even Northern Ireland never went to Commonwealth Games, which was something that I remember being really annoyed about it at the time. But I think the biggest one, I won a European Union silver medal at featherweight, and it was like the first time boxing at featherweight. I jumped straight from flyweight. I had one fight at bantam, and then I went to featherweight, and it was a stand-in because David Oliver Joyce was injured. I won a silver medal there, and I won 2 Irish senior titles, one at flyweight and one at featherweight. So that's probably the biggest thing I've done.
The time you won the silver medal at the EU Championships, the year later, the guy who beat you in the final post-fight won a silver at the Olympic Games.
That's right.
Beat by Lomachenko in the final. So
Lomachenko stopped him in the final, but it was a good fight, fighter.
Good fighter.
And I wasn't fit. I was kind of pulled in last minute for them European Unions, and I was first couple of rounds were competitive, and then he pulled away in the last round. But
there was only 3 points or something.
What's that?
There was only 3 points, I think, in it.
Nah, there was more. I think it was about 10 in the end, but it was close for a while. And then I blew a gasket.
So obviously after that, you went professional not long after. Oh, was it an easy decision for you to go professional, or was it?
No, it was easy enough, to be honest, because I always wanted to go pro, and I feel like I should have had a crack at going to a qualifier for Beijing Olympics in 2008. I remember Billy Walsh, who was the head coach at the time, asked for, I'm going to move this now. Billy Coach, who was the head coach at the time, asked for a box-up between me and David Oliver, and there's as much politics in amateur boxing as there is in professional boxing, and the box-off never happened. Davey went to 4 qualifiers, never qualified. Then he came back from the qualifiers. I boxed him in the All-Irelands, dropped him, gave him a count, I beat him convincingly. And then I had another couple of internationals for Ireland, but it was a decision, like, did I wait around another 4 years and try and qualify for London, or go pro? And I was thinking, honestly, at the time, like, I made the right decision to go pro, because John Joe Nevin was the 56 kilo boxer for London, and he won a silver medal. I wouldn't have beat John Joe as an amateur. I wouldn't even get out of Ireland. So it would have been another 4 years wasted. So I think it was the perfect time to go pro.
Yeah, definitely. As you mentioned, John O'Nevin there, he was just basically untouchable in 2007, 8, and even reached to London. Sorry. So you were flying straight ahead in the pro game. So the reason he asked you was a hard decision. Whatever decision it was the right one because of how successful you were.
Well, it was. I tell you one regret I have. I never told Billy Walsh that I was turning pro. And although, like, Billy McKee was my club coach and stuff, but I feel like it was I've done it a wee bit behind his back. You know what I mean? I should have said I'm going to turn pro. And I never did, and that's something that I still regret a wee bit. I think maybe just a bit of honesty to Billy at the time, Billy Walsh. It would have been it's something I should have done, but I was young, and I was probably afraid to tell him I was going to turn pro, if I'm being honest.
Well, now's your chance, Carl, if you want to tell him now. I'm sure Billy Walsh is from America.
I've said it a few times. And I'm sure he might have heard it once or twice. Hopefully he listens to this. He probably will, because he knows you're involved. But
listen, boxing's it's a one-man sport, basically. You have to do what's best for you, and listen, you have. But how did it feel for you when you had your first pro fight? When you actually turned professional, like, what was the feeling like?
So obviously I was with the McGuigans and stuff. I was training with Jerry Story. That was a decision that I wanted to, because Jerry was training a few pros at the time, and that was, although I was being kind of directed towards other coaches, I wanted to train with Jerry because we had a good relationship and he was a very good coach. So I trained with Jerry for a while, and I got a load of McGuigan. Me and him have had our differences, but he was very, very good at kind of talking to the press about me and getting me known. Yeah. And even at, like, I was doing 6 and 8 rounders, and I was getting a lot more publicity than guys fighting for titles at the time. So I enjoyed the pro game at the start. I really did, and I travelled about. I'd done a lot of sparring all over the country, and that's where I think I learned. I learned a lot. Like, I was sparring like good British and European level fighters as a really, like, green novice professional. I remember my first time sparring. One of my first times sparring a proper pro was Stevie Bell in Manchester, and I sparred him on a Monday, four 4-minute rounds, and he dropped me with a body shot, and it was the worst feeling ever. And I sparred him again the next day, 4-minute rounds again, dropped me 2 days in a row with body shots. And I remember just thinking, "What? This is a hard game." And Stevie wasn't a bad pro, you know what I mean? But I wanted to be a world champion. I remember just thinking to myself, "Look, this is going to be tougher than I imagined."
Was there a turning point? like in the first like 10 fights over, that you thought that you were going to reach the pinnacle of the sport?
What's that said again?
Was there a turning point in like your early sort of professional career where you felt that you had it to reach the pinnacle of the sport?
I think the big one for me was, and it was about 12 or 13 fights in, was when I beat Kiko Martinez for the European title, because it was a very, very hard fight. I remember going into the fight and people telling me, just ride the storm for 4 rounds, and he started to tire and stuff. And I remember going out for the 7th and 8th and going, fuck me, like, when's he going to tire? He hadn't showed any signs of it yet. And I was extremely exhausted in that fight, and there was lots of different thoughts running through my head, like, I'm getting hurt here, hurt the body, hurt the head. As a young, kind of green enough professional, I could have packed it in, but I like mentally was strong enough to stay in there and beat him, even though I was hurting in that fight, and that was a real point for me, and I realized that I can go all the way here.
Would you say your greatest night, well, one of your greatest night, as a professional would be the fight at Titanic?
Probably, because it was my first world title, and like, just where it was, like, it was down there in the Titanic slipway. Loads of history down there. It's very, very famous, not only in Belfast but across the world. And from the ring, you could actually see like Tigers Bay and stuff. So you could see like where I grew up, and it was a really, really nice feeling. It was, open air, 16,000 people, purpose-built stadium. I've had some big nights, but that's if it's not the best night for me, it's definitely one of them.
Like I'm going to ask you what your best performance was, but I always feel, I think I've told you before, that I thought your best performance was when you fought Steve Molitor in Odyssey. What would you think your best performance would be?
Yeah, that's one of them, and people forget about them performances. That's one of the best performances. I was really on it that night, and Steve Molitor was a former world champion and a good fighter still, and I beat him convincingly. I think the Chris Avalos win was a good performance for me, because he was number one with the IBF at the time. I was my first defence, and I think number one with the WBC. And then I think top 5 with the rest of the governing bodies.
Yeah.
That was a big win. And I really, I hurt him bad in that fight. Someone I didn't like, so I was delighted to finish the fight how I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably one of them. Even the Dinar fight, looking back at what he's done in the since, like, the Dinar fight was a good performance for me, because I controlled it, and I won. I won the fight convincingly enough, and I know I was the bigger man on the night, and he's back down to bantam and stuff, but I was in control of that fight. And you look at what he's done since, even with the Burnett fight,
and you can't say he's positive, because when he fought Inoue, it was a hard fight.
Of course it was, and he's, because of this, he was meant to fight Ubali, Nordine Ubali, a man that very well. He fought him a lot, so. And I'd fancy Dinar to beat Ubali and become a world champion again, which is it's an amazing thing if it comes off.
So tell me this: you've obviously had some massive highs and only I would say a few lows. What do you think would be your sporting peak and your sporting pit? So the highest and lowest moment of your career.
Highest would be either beating Kiko and winning my first world title, or Santa Cruz, beating Santa Cruz. Because that was a fight I wasn't really expected to win. A lot of people didn't fancy me in that fight. So one of them two, I'd say, career highlights. Lowest point would probably be, that's an easy one, the Josh Warrington loss.
Yeah.
Still something that annoys me. I just got it wrong. got it really wrong, and I didn't perform. I underperformed. Josh was brilliant, and I won the fight fair and square. But I went into that fight thinking he can't hurt me. Like there's nothing that suggested. I've been in with some big punchers before, and there's nothing really to suggest that he's gonna hurt me. And he nailed me in the first round. Hurt me in the first, second, and third round. And yeah,
that's why
I just felt bad.
That's why I think you're maybe a bit hard on yourself. It went wrong in that fight. You keep saying it went wrong, but if you look back at the fight, you caught you very, very early, and that changed the whole second of the fight. And
yeah,
rounds, you heard you actually?
It did. I wanted, my plan was to get up on the toes and use the ring and my movement and my reflexes and speed. I knew it was going to be a difficult fight, but just didn't think he could hurt me, and he hurt me, and that changed the whole set. And there was something not many people know about, and you say you want to make excuses, and this is a wee bit of an excuse. It sounds like an excuse, but there was a point in the first round where he accidentally, in one of the barrages, kneed me with his knee, hit me in the quad, and the bruising on my knee was unreal the next day. I remember going to the hospital after the fight, and I was limping in the hospital, and I was standing there, and Chris team was there, my dad was there, and Jimmy Moore was there, and Dr. Mark Duffy as well, who's been a big help to me throughout my career. Them 4 people were there, and I was standing, waiting to be seen by a doctor, and I almost caved up my leg, almost caved in, and people thought it was because of my head.
Yeah.
And they all kind of rushed around me, but it was only my leg. Just didn't allow me to get up on my toes and do what I wanted to do. But
I actually remember the next day in your hotel room, and Christine put in your shoes because you couldn't bend over properly with your leg.
Yeah, that's right. No, but that's what happens in a fight, isn't it? You just have to deal with things. People fight with broken hands and everything else, but it just didn't allow me to get up on my toes like I wanted.
So obviously boxing's been a massive part of your life. I'm sure it's hard for Christine and the kids being at home in your way training. So how do you find the balance between sport and your personal life?
It is that's the hardest thing for me, being away from Christine and the kids. Christine's been very, very supportive of me my whole career, and you miss your kids obviously too, but it was more difficult at the start when Carla was just born. There was times when I was away for 3 weeks at a time, 4 weeks at a time, and not getting home to see Christine and Carla, who also was born yet. But I made the decision since I've linked up with my new team that I'm going to train Monday to Friday and come home with the weekend. So it isn't that bad. It's still not easy, but you see your kids on the Monday morning, you see them again on the Friday. And there's a lot of people. I have a mate who works on the oil rigs, and he's away 2 weeks at a time. He doesn't see his kids, so I'm in a lucky enough position. This is a short career, and I'm making sacrifices now. And hopefully, it has paid off. It has paid off, but hopefully, hopefully it continues.
If you haven't had experience of being away so long from your family and friends, would you have any advice for young fighters coming through who are professional in this kind of life?
Yeah, well, a wee bit of advice would be that I don't think home comforts are good for a young pro. I think pros shouldn't be at home. Young pros should be living at home. Shouldn't be, and that sounds harsh, but there's a lot of distractions, and as we get better, there's a lot of people looking favors off you and looking you to do things. But when I go away to Manchester, people tend to leave me alone, and if they don't leave me alone, I just tell them I'm not around.
Yeah.
That would be something. Get away from home comforts. Go into a proper training camp, base yourself, and surround yourself with good people. Another bit of advice that I would give myself, and if I ever managed young fighters, I would do this. I would tell them to learn Spanish. And it sounds stupid and a bit trivial, but imagine a young Irish fighter going to America and starting to speak fluent Spanish. Imagine the Mexican fans would love that. That's something I would have loved to have done. If I could go back and give myself a wee bit of advice, would be learn Spanish.
Ah, brilliant, brilliant. Here, tell me this. You're obviously a big follower of ice boxing as well at the minute. Who do you think is next big? Two names. So the next big thing in ice boxing and the best current prospect.
It's difficult, isn't it? I don't know. So talking about the pros, I really like James Tennyson. I think James Tennyson's a very, very good fighter, a very underrated fighter. And he's linked up with Matchroom now. I think that's a good move for him, and he will do a lot. And he's a serious puncher. I remember sparring him, and he's a big puncher. So Tennyson could do something in terms of prospects. It's a hard one. I went a wee bit blank here, Paddy. I don't really know. Like a kid that Andy Lee's training, Paddy Donovan. What a fighter he is. Good looking lad, can punch hard. He's linked up with Top Rank and stuff, and I think Andy Lee is going to be a brilliant coach. I really do. So Paddy Donovan as well.
Brilliant. Right. So I know you're obviously not in proper camp at the minute because of this coronavirus, but what's next for you?
Well, the Jamel Herring fight has been agreed. So I'm hopeful that fight will happen at some place. I think it will. He's up for it. I'm up for it. Both are with Top Rank. And I'm also with Frank Warren as well. There's a joint promotional agreement there with Top Rank and Frank. So I think that fight will happen. Just depends when. Well, I don't see it happening. I don't see it happening kind of anytime soon. Obviously, with the current situation that we're in at the minute. But if it happened before the end of the year, I'd be happy enough with it.
Any preference on location?
Well, I would have loved Windsor. That's what I wanted. I wanted to fight at Windsor. Everyone knows that, but I don't see the fight happening this side of kind of September. So that'll really Windsor out. So the SSE, the Odyssey, is the next best, and I know it's smaller than Windsor, but the atmosphere in there is amazing. So we do it there. If it's in Belfast, I'm going to be happy because I'm not the champion. You know what I mean? So he's a champion coming over here. I'd be happy enough with that. But look, if I have to travel as well, if push comes to shove and they say we're going to do New York or Vegas or wherever, I'm happy for that as well.
Well, fairness, I'm being a bit selfish. I would love it to be in America, so we get a trip away. But that's just the way.
You know, people say that to me all the time, Paddy. You hear people saying they want it, and you know, it's difficult sometimes for people. Some people can't afford to go to America, but the people that can't afford it, they make memories for life, and it's always good when you go out there. But I just want the fight. If it's in the SSE or America, I don't really care.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to do a quick fire round. So I'm going to give you 5 questions. If you could choose a different sport, what would it be?
Football, easy. I wanted to be a footballer, you know. I liked football, but it just wasn't. I was better at boxing, but I love football. Love to play it. What?
You were just too small, weren't you?
Are you talking about yourself?
Were you?
Paddy, did you ever see the size of Messi?
Oh, he's about 2 feet bigger than you.
He's about an inch. He's got about an inch on me. Maradona, midget. I was like Dennis Ways, Paddy. He's only a wee man.
Yeah, but just pity weren't Ways. But your greatest rival?
Well, in the pros or amateurs or anything?
Or anything.
Greatest rival, probably. Well, it could have been Santa Cruz, one each, but the third fight never happened. Quig was a big rival at the time. You were a big rival as an amateur.
How many times did they beat you?
You beat me once, and I beat you 3 times.
Do you have any pre-match or pre-fight superstitions?
I'm not really that superstitious, and I, I always see superstitions as being a bit of a weakness mentally for someone.
Yeah.
But one thing that I do, and I don't know why, leaving to go for a fight and make sure everything's turned off in the hotel room, like TVs, lights, phone chargers, all electricity, because I don't know why. And if I forget about it, I'll send someone back to do it, like turn things off.
And
But
you
that's the only thing. What's that?
You make sure the bed's made too, don't you?
No.
You told me that last time.
You made that up. You invented that. I didn't never say that in my life.
Right, you're talking crap now. I would kick you off the show.
I don't make not bad, not like made, just nice. It's nice. The room's sitting nice, not like properly made. Like
your favorite quote. I know you're a man for a good quote.
Favorite quote.
Test.
Vanny Very Beachy. I was just a young stupid kid, and it worked out like because Vanny Very Beachy. I came, I saw, I conquered. I had done fuck all before I got that tattoo, so I'm kind of glad I've done something. Or it wouldn't have made sense. But favorite quote. I don't know.
It could be what? My quote in Dublin was prepare to fight. Ready for war.
You stole that off of UVF in Mount Vernon.
I did too, your favorite sports person, past or present?
Favorite sports person, past or present? Past would be George Best. I'd love to have met him. Love to have met him. Harry Gregg, who died recently as well. And I remember I met him and I started to read up. I knew what he'd done, but I started to read up loads about him after it, and he's a proper hero. Love David Healy as well. Yeah, probably them three, I'd say. Oh, Kirk Hunter as well. Love Kirk Hunter, Crusaders, Cruise player, and he was kind of one of my heroes growing up as a kid. And something he done very nicely. Let's tell you this: Kirk Hunter gave me his Irish Cup winning medal, and I've got it in a frame. No, I don't have it in a frame. I'm getting it in a frame, but I've got it in the house. I want to get it put in a frame, alongside a big photograph with him.
Well, it's been great having you on the show, Carl. But before you go, would you give a message to everyone probably in the current situation, with the coronavirus concerned, to stay safe?
Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? For us all, we're all struggling a bit. It's trying to keep kids occupied, trying to keep occupied yourself. It's hard, but I think that they will all, obviously I think once this is over, a lot of us will be better people for it, because we'll appreciate the small things in life that we just take for granted all the time. And I want to give a special mention to Christine, my wife, because this is like the way she's like managing the kids' schoolwork and all is unreal. I wouldn't have, like, I'm helping out a wee bit, and if I wasn't here, she could completely do it on her own. I could not do this on my own, and she's been brilliant. I think she might have found a new vocation in life, and if she wants to be a teacher, I think she'd be a very good one.
Well, it's good that you mentioned Christine, because I'll also mention her, because I know she has a degree in criminology.
Yeah.
If anybody long listen to this, make sure you give her a help job.
Do you know what? And that's something she wants to do. So and fair play to Christine, like, she's a degree in criminology and criminal justice, and she put her career on hold to allow me to do what I wanted to do. So I've said this before, I'm happy to let her go and do what she wants to do, and I'll be the stay-at-home one and look after the kids. So she feels like her degree's been wasted. So yeah, she's one of the good ones, Christine, and she looks after me and the kids.
Is there anybody you want to give a shout to? Any sponsors or anybody?
No sponsors. Not really. No, there's no sponsors there on the t-shirt. That's why I put the t-shirt on.
I think you can read,
but a few people, well, the sponsors, Everlast, 11 Degrees, 32 Red, but people who have helped me in my career, and I'm probably going to forget some. Hold on, what are you doing?
So that she was strong.
Right, you have to. Right, well, hold on. I'm doing an interview with Paddy. What's your point? Billy McKee, Cooper McClure, Jerry Story, people who have helped me out in my career, Christine, my mum, my dad. There's going to be loads of people that I've missed out, but I'm a wee bit punchy. So loads of people have helped me, but Paddy get the where I am.
Yeah. Well, listen, Carl, thanks very much for being the first ever guest on PaddyCast. I wish you good luck for your next fight. All the best, mate.
Cheers, Patrick.
You man.